Okay, everybody, I don't quite know whether this is going to make you laugh or possibly even make you cry. I personally do have a bit of an issue with some aspects of the conspiracy theory movements, and they are movements there, and there's sometimes some bad thinking or bad politics associated with them. Don't object to all of it. There's the occasional person involved in that particular movement who's trying to do what they think is right, and sometimes there is some good which comes out of it. Sometimes there is some bad. But also, there's this one particular person I've gotten a bit of an objection to, namely Alex Jones, who appears to be like a major, massive fear monger. Sometimes he says things which are correct, yes, but on the other hand, a stopped watch can be right twice a day. Now, he's reporting that the Bilderbergers will soon be meeting up in Watford. Of all the places on the face of the planet that they could actually be meeting, apparently they're meeting in Watford. So Alex Jones, who's scrutinizing, the powers of the elite and all that kind of stuff, is going to be trying to have a presence in Watford. I mean, obviously the elites, the Illuminati, the Freemasonry, Jewish reptilian cabal of whatever from Skull and Bones, obviously like bright enough people to go somewhere where they can nip out to the shops and buy a nice cup of coffee, or maybe even get a copy of the local newspaper. Maybe you could do that too, Alex Jones, and maybe read the articles and the content of the articles, not misrepresent it, and maybe just not just read the headline, and actually look into the story in greater detail, including who's actually written it and what they're actually saying and where they're coming from and what their history as a reporter or a commentator is, and the kind of politics and values they're supporting and why they're saying what they're saying, and actually thinking in greater detail about what's going on. Maybe you can actually do that for a change, rather than just telling everyone that the whole world is some big scary place full of big scary people. Just when you go down there, there's quite a few news agents, supermarkets, wonderful shopping centres in the whole place. Okay, lots of car parks. You can take all of your little people with your New World New World Order Defence League T-shirts and find some nice place to park. It's not too expensive if you're going for a short while. Okay, grab yourself a nice coffee, which is Starbucks maybe. Apparently they support Israel. You wouldn't like that, would you? No, of course not. So just chill out and actually read something whilst you're there, and maybe you could explore more about the British press, which might be a little more advanced than, let's say, some of the American media like Fox News, which basically isn't a news channel. It's basically full of paranoia and people like Glenn Beck, or I don't know if he's still with Fox News anymore, but it's just all mental rubbish, and you were obviously trying to feed into that particular variety of mental rubbish. So essentially my recommendation to you, Alex Jones, is in Watford, which is obviously a major centre of Illuminist evil. I don't know what's funnier, Alex Jones going to Watford or the Bilderbergers going to Watford, you know what I mean? But anyway, when you're there, make sure you can see all the small print and, get some detail as to what's actually out there, rather than just like, scary headline, it's like flash that on camera and try and convince someone that something which basically isn't happening is happening, and it's all really, really terrible. In Watford. There we go. I mean, in the future, if the truth and movement sort of like has its victory, they can put up a plaque in Watford to say we were here. I like Watford, but it doesn't quite have that sort of like variety of historical appeal. I mean, Watford has its own history, yes, definitely its own history, but all this like 1984, the answer is 1776 stuff. It doesn't quite go with like the energy of Watford, really.